Super Hang-On has two revisions and they handle quite differently. Revision 01 has less sensitive steering, so handling is much tighter. It also means it takes more time to move between the extremes of the road from side to side. Beyond that, the frame rate is much more constant, especially at busy sections with many riders or with animation changes. Rev 00, which top runners tend to use, has much nimbler steering. It's much more sensitive. It's much easier to drift all the way to the other side when turning. Also though, the frame rate is not very constant. Often when you're racing, there's visible slowing down and speeding up, which can take some getting used to. Have a play about with both of them and see which you prefer. There's no restriction on what emulator you use. Control of the bike can be quite difficult at first, but one advantage over other games is there's no gear changing. The bike can be upright, partly leaned or fully leaned, and it takes time to get used to these positions and how to make the most of them. You brake with A, accelerate with B, and turbo with C, which often needs to be quickly tapped. I use my index, middle and ring fingers over A, B and C to keep maximum control in the heavy braking zones. Otherwise, just index on B and middle on C. The in-game timer determines your time at the end of the race, but sub-seconds from one sector carry over to the next. So if you're tracking best sector times, remove the carryover. For example, you finish Sector 1 with 34:10, Sector 2 shows as 32:90, and Sector 3 shows as 33:33. Your real time for Sector 2 was 32:90 minus 10 is 32:80, and your real time for S3 was 33:33 minus the 90, which is 32:43. The hardest thing in Super Hang-On is other bikes. They're evil. Collisions knock down your speed massively, and sometimes you get buffeted between packs of riders like a pinball without really any chance to stop it. Again, it takes time to know when you're in danger of a side-on collision through corners, and when it's safe to undertake on the inside. I've posted a link in the comments where you can find a description with lots of technical details of superscalar games like this one. Basically, the bike is always in the centre of the screen. The centre line of the racetrack moves around instead. At points you can take advantage of this by letting go of a direction at the end of a corner, and the bike should move on its own to the other side of the track, as you can see here. Remember, inside becomes outside, and especially this in S-bends. But practice doing this, and you might see that if you get it wrong, you might end up drifting to the outside of the track and scrubbing speed. Unlike other games with racing lines, the fastest path is generally the shortest, so try and stay as far inside of the corner as you can at the highest speed. It's better to tap C and keep a higher average speed inside than to hold it down for a period, bulge out, then let go and come back in. Think of the track curves as two circles, one inside the other, and the smaller circle has less curve and less distance to travel between straights. Add to that the fact that since the inner curve is shorter, it also puts you on the straight a bit quicker each time, and that soon mounts up. Turbo speed only adds about 15% to your top speed, but as you can see from this diagram, the outside of a corner takes far longer to get around. So to get around that, you tap C rhythmically through the inside of a corner. Try that yourself and keep an eye on your speedometer as much as you can, trying to keep it above 310 kph. If you don't tap fast enough, you'll end up with a lower average speed, so you would need to hold it down again until you get back to 324 and try again. Other bikes also get in the way of this, and as for a racing line, sometimes it's best to hold full turbo after the apex of a corner and drift to the outside for the next straight. Other times, you want to keep as tight an inside line as possible. The bike feels weighty, especially at lower speeds. See how early you can change direction on the first straight at low speed, and contrast that with how nippy it becomes at top speed. That weight has implications when you're coming out of a corner in a full lean. Exiting at the very inside, you have to slightly correct for the weight by pressing the opposite direction a little. It's better to get used to doing this movement quickly, so that you don't have to keep being in the middle or the outside of a corner, because being in the outside of a corner can be especially damaging in S-bends. We'll get to those in another section, but for now, just know that if you hug the inside of a right-hand corner, to get to the inside of the next left-hand corner, you need to go straight for a while, but then use turbo and lean to drift out to the appropriate points. If you try to just go straight from the apex to the bend, you'll end up on the inside grass of the second bend. Generally, if you're on the inside half of the track, in most places you aren't going to lose too much speed.